Today we are talking about finding your purpose. You know, like, why am I here? What am I supposed to do for God? Sometimes we think our purpose is a main event, like what our job is or some amazing thing we did, like David beating Goliath in the Bible. But living in your godly purpose is a daily thing. It might lead up to a grand event like little David had, but he didn't just become an instant hero for God. God had purpose for every day he lived. Every follower of Jesus' purpose is to be used daily by God and to be a godly influence on others. Now that sounds simple, but it takes hard work. To let God use you each day, you must think about him constantly. Ask him what he wants in every situation, then do what he wants. Seeing you do this makes others want to follow God. That's the influence part. This process is called seeking after God. God promises when we seek him, we will find him. Or when you do things his way, you'll see things are better. Most of you probably won't kill a giant or save a nation of people, but seeking God's daily purpose guarantees he'll use you for his great plan. Today's Bible story is about someone who did save a nation of people. She was a queen, beautiful, kind, powerful, and she saved God's people from being killed. Her name was Esther. A man named Mordecai was an important Jewish man. He was a cousin to Esther. After Esther's parents both died, she lived with Mordecai. Eventually, he adopted her as his own daughter. He loved Esther very much, and she had great respect for Mordecai. During this time, Xerxes, the king of Babylon, was looking for a new wife. He heard about Esther. She was beautiful and kind, and that's the kind of wife Xerxes wanted. Soon, Esther would become the queen. There was one thing that the king did not know about Esther. She was a Jew, one of God's chosen people. Mordecai thought that Esther should not let the king know this, and so she kept it a secret. A man named Haman was second in charge just below King Xerxes. He was very important, but Haman was not a nice man. He was prideful and arrogant and used his job to get his own way. When he would ride past the gates of the palace, Mordecai would be there. People would bow as Haman passed, but not Mordecai. He would not bow to Haman. Haman hated this. He knew Mordecai was a Jew and an important leader to the Jewish people. So he talked King Xerxes into creating a law that said all the Jews in his kingdom would be put to death. He even set a date for this to happen, like it was a celebration. What would Esther do? She was a Jew, and under the new law, she too would be put to death. Come back next week to hear the second part of Esther's story. Let's review what we know so far. Esther became queen. Every part of her life had led up to that moment. We know from the Bible that Esther was faithful to God. She could have been mad at God for having a rough childhood. She could have stopped following God because she was upset that her father and mother died when she was just a little girl. We read her story and know that every day of her life had purpose, even that sad and scary stuff. She followed God's purpose for her life daily, and God had a great plan for Esther. So what about you? Do you wonder what your purpose is? Well, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. Your purpose is to let God use you every day. That requires following what's in the Bible, praying about everything, and seeking guidance from the Holy Spirit. He'll give you thoughts, memories, reminders, and situations to react to. Choose to follow him and you'll be living out God's purpose for your life. Here are some daily take-home tips to help you live out God's purpose every day. Take 1. Pray about every situation. Take 2. Recognize the Holy Spirit is with you. Take 3. Work to please God. Remember, treat others the way you want to be treated. We'll see you next week.